Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Dayspring Discussions. I'm your host, Sean McGahee. This is a show where we talk about movies, TV, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books. If you geek out about it, we're going to talk about it. You can listen to Dayspring Discussions on iTunes, YouTube, Podomatic, Patreon, Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever, guys. While you're there, go and rate, review, subscribe, then head on over to the Facebook group or Twitter account and join in the discussion. Don't forget dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com. If you have a topic you want to bring up or a question, you can leave it there. All right, guys. Well, hello, everyone. It is a very rainy and stormy Tuesday here in Austin, Texas, but it's always sunshine in here because we are joined by the ray of light herself, Miss Lisa Locke McGahee.
Ray of light.
Exactly, right? Get it? Of course. And if Lisa's here, you know we're talking Star Wars, guys. So
I would just like to say I do have other interests.
Okay, that's true, but there have been no Harry Potter things come up in a while, so, your expertise now is in the field of Star Wars.
Okay.
When Wizarding World stuff comes up, you can come back for that.
Those are my only two things.
What else you got?
I don't know. We could talk about sewing or nursing or
this isn't that kind
babies.
Not that kind of show. Not that kind of show at all. Okay, no. So today, guys, we're talking The Mandalorian. So we're all excited for season 2 to come out. There was a report yesterday, of course, that it will not be delayed. Would still come in Mandalorian season 2 in the fall. Filming for the season already was done before this whole COVID-19 social distancing quarantine thing happened. So as long as there's still somebody in the editing room editing it, putting stuff together, I had no doubt that it was going to be put together on time and on Disney+. Now, we're all anxious for it, and mainly because The Mandalorian, I think in this day and age, is one of the few Star Wars things that is not controversial, I guess.
Controversial.
Yes, what she said. Because let's look at the movies. This sequel trilogy, it's been up and down. Either you like one movie and not another movie. Either you don't like it as a whole. Either you do like it as a whole. There's a great...
There's a divide. There's definitely a divide in the fans.
There's a quote I heard, nobody hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans.
That is a true story.
That is a true story because they can be the most vicious. Now, in this day and age, though, The Mandalorian seems to be the one thing that all Star Wars fans can get behind. Now, I like this show. I don't love the show, but I like it. Mm-hmm. But I don't think you really hear any other people complaining about it. So
right. There's not people who hate it, who have really super negative things to say.
Exactly. So that's why I think Disney and Lucasfilm very much focus on The Mandalorian and, the whole Disney gallery that they're doing, the making of documentary on Disney Plus going on right now, giving people more Mandalorian content, keeping the subscribers happy in that. But Mandalorian is one of those things where it's in a time period, too, where you can do a lot with it. Only a couple years after Return of the Jedi, before The Force Awakens, there's a lot you can do with it. So, obviously, there's a lot of rumors going around, and I wanted to address those today about some certain casting news that have come out within the last couple of days and kind of group it all together, and Lisa and I can discuss it. You guys, of course, fire back on the social media groups and Gmail account. Let us know. So, to start off with the first one, now this is coming from the Hollywood Reporter. It was about 4 days ago. It said that Temura Morrison, who played Jango Fett in Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, was going to come back and make an appearance as Boba Fett. Now, that, of course, being the fact that Boba Fett is the son of Jango Fett, otherwise a modified clone, so,
He's an unmodified clone.
Unmodified.
Yeah.
Did I say modified?
You said modified. Yeah, that's the big difference between Boba and everybody else. Is all the other clones were given, enhancement, growth enhancers. Boba was an unmodified. He was an exact clone of Jango.
Yes. Okay. So that's why they would, bring him back for Boba Fett. Remember, post Return of the Jedi, and for those of you who are saying, yes, Boba Fett fell in the Sarlacc pit, courtesy of Han Solo bumping his jetpack and making him fall in. But there have been numerous sites or numerous, hints in canon that Boba Fett might have survived the Sarlacc pit. Wasn't there something in the Aftermath trilogy about it?
vague. Nothing super substantial that I can remember. But I haven't...
Something about his armor, right?
I haven't read them. Well, there was something in there, I think, about finding his armor. But... I don't remember the details of it. That's one I haven't read in a long time. But
Yeah, and the other thing was in the Battlefront 2 trailer, when they were advertising the game, they had Boba Fett, and he was over like the Starlight Pit or something like that, and he said, "Not again," or "Not this time," kind of indicating that he might have survived the Starlight Pit. But either way, and then the other clue, of course, was in episode, I think it was 6 of The Mandalorian. There's the Spurs. We just see some guy's feet, and people are talking about how...
Must be Boba.
Must be Boba Fett, exactly, with that. But according to the THR article, it might not be a big part, maybe just a cameo here and there, something like that. But to go along with it, it was, I believe, a couple days later, no, it was a day later, that the Nerdist said that they have reliable sources that Temura Morrison might not only be playing Boba Fett in The Mandalorian, he might actually be doing double duty as Captain Rex in this one too. Grouping it in with, of course, the whole rumors. Remember that Rosario Dawson was going to play a live-action Ahsoka Tano in The Mandalorian Season 2. We also have news. Yesterday, rumors started flying, of course. Sabine Wren started going around. This is comingsoon.net. They don't really cite a source, just kind of said rumors, but that's been going around for a while there. And then today, the newest one came up. According to Slash Film, Katee Sackhoff, who voiced the Mandalorian known as Bo-Katan in Star Wars The Clone Wars and Rebels, will be playing the live-action version of the character in The Mandalorian Season 2. These are a lot of things going around. A lot of rumors, a lot of casting stuff. In regards to The Mandalorian, you could also be talking about some of the possible directors that are coming in, like Peyton Reed or Robert Rodriguez. But I want to focus on the casting right now with this one. So I want to break it down kind of story by story here. And let's start off with the one that I feel is the most legitimate because it comes from the most legitimate source, which is The Hollywood Reporter saying that Temura Morrison playing Boba Fett. Lisa, I want to ask you if you believe it and whether you like it.
Well, I know everybody thinks that Boba Fett is so cool, but like I have never understood from those first movies, from the original trilogy, why anybody walked away from those movies saying, "Man, that character was cool." Like, he was barely on screen. I mean, I don't even understand. Like, they never say his name. You don't know anything about him. He's just one of many bounty hunters in a row in one scene behind Vader. And then, like, he's there in Jabba's. He never had, like, literally, I didn't even know who he was until, like, I met you and started, like, really looking into Star Wars stuff. Like, as a kid, I never even noticed him in Star Wars. As an adult, I never even noticed. I mean, I didn't even know what that symbol was until a couple years ago because I have, like, literally zero interest in Boba Fett. The only thing and then, what I did get to know about him was him in Clone Wars, the show, where he was like a little kid, and he was a pain in the ass, like, I mean, people listened to him, and he had a little bit of an air about him. Gravitas, that could
Boom.
be it, I guess. Because the fact that some of those other bounty hunters, like, are saying them actually listened to him, and like, but then again, a lot of that was, were they just humoring him? Was he really the leader? Like, I don't know. Anyway, I am 100% indifferent to Boba Fett. I don't really care if he shows up in The Mandalorian. I mean, and this kind of goes along with everything else we've talked about, with The Mandalorian, with putting, Boba Fett in it. Boba Fett's not actually a Mandalorian. He's not, Jango Fett wasn't from Mandalore, as far as we can tell. He just had Mandalorian armor. And then Boba Fett, same thing. He's just took over his dad's armor. So, and that's one of the things that I know I'm kind of jumping ahead now because we haven't talked about the other Mandalorians that are allegedly being brought in. But that's one thing I don't really get because the Mandalorian in the show, Mando, he is a whole different type of Mandalorian. Like, the kind of Mandalorian that Bo-Katan is a totally different type of she's Mandalorian, basically royalty. Like, she's from the the royal class of Mandalore. You look at her, and then even characters like Sabine, who, her family. I mean, her mother fought alongside with Bo-Katan. Like, the Ren clan, being Clan Ren, Clan Vizsla, Clan whatever. I mean, that's how real Mandalorians, like from Mandalore. So this new whatever the type of Mandalorians that are around now with Mando, after the Purge or whatever, since they've never explained yet what the Purge is. The only thing I can think is that this season they're going to go back and explain what the Purge is.
Yeah.
Because bringing the Mandalorians in to interact with him and these kind of renegade Mandalorians that are out there now with this whole... I mean, they don't even... With the whole, like, not taking your mask. It's a whole different type of Mandalorian. Like, so it seems to me like it maybe like Bo-Katan and Sabine might be in there in terms of flashbacks.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, what happened to Mandalore or whatever this Purge was.
Well, yeah, because remember, Moff Gideon has
the
dark
saber.
saber. Okay, and last we saw the dark saber in canon, it was in the hands of Bo-Katan. So to tell the story of how Moff Gideon got it, you kind of had to go back and, say who had it before him.
Right.
Which, you assume it would probably be Bo-Katan.
So that's the only thing that I can think makes sense with those characters coming back, is that they're coming back for flashbacks.
Yeah.
Not for, like, current timeline. That they're going to be flashbacks to explain the Purge.
Make it brief.
Right. To explain what happened to the Darksaber. Now, Boba Fett, he could play in a whole different way.
Yeah.
Because he's not actually a Mandalorian. He wasn't on Mandalore during the Purge. I mean, theoretically, I don't know. Maybe he was. Who knows? He's not actually a Mandalorian. He doesn't live on Mandalore. So,
Yeah.
So, I mean, him coming back to me makes a little more sense than Bo-Katan or Sabine. But I don't really care if he comes back or not.
Okay, we kind of jumped around a little bit there, so I'm going to bring it back a little bit more to Boba Fett centered, excuse me. I never got Boba Fett either. I think with his, popularity, number one, of course, original trilogy, he looked cool. But now that we know what actual Mandalorians are like, they all look like him, and they're way cooler in my eyes.
Way cooler.
Okay. Number two, there was a mystery about him, kind of like a Wolverine kind of style, where you didn't know his past. We know his past now. He was a whiny little brat.
Yeah, but the thing about not knowing his past, he wasn't even on screen long enough to care about his past. For me, like, I look at it. I mean, it would be like if I watch one of those movies and, like, the guy who was Jabba's, the guy who came out to answer the door. I forget what the hell his name is.
I know who you talk about, yes.
Like, it would be like me saying, man, he's really cool. I don't know his backstory, though. Oh, my gosh, that's so intriguing now. Like, there were so many characters that had more screen time than Boba that we don't know their backstories. And I don't find that sense of mystery to be intriguing about any of them.
Okay, and number three, it was in the expanding universe, which is now Legends. In the 90s, you had a lot of Boba Fett-centered stories like Shadows of the Empire, Underground, stuff like that centered around Boba Fett and the cool stuff and just what he was doing then, which showed him a lot more of what he was capable of and why he was such a feared bounty hunter, is what it was. Up on the big screen, he did jack shit.
He didn't do shit.
Exactly. But in what is now Legends, there's a lot of comics and books about him doing cool stuff, which again is why I think, there are a lot of people who grew up reading that stuff that like the character mainly because of what they know of him and what he did in those things, which are now Legends.
See, that I can get behind, because there are a lot of characters that I really like. Like, it'd be like my Hot with me and Phasma. Like, on screen, you're just like, huh? But, like, if you read the books, then you really get a whole different appreciation for Phasma.
Yeah.
So maybe it was something like that.
And I totally understand, that could have been him. Of course, they were on Tatooine in that episode 6 or whatever, The Mandalorian. He crawls out of the Sarlacc pit, and, maybe he's trying to reestablish himself as the most feared bounty hunter in the galaxy. So who does he have to go after?
Mando.
Well, the guy who's, looks like him and is also, right at this present time, the most badass bounty hunter there is. So I can see him bringing him in that kind of way. Let's go to Sabine real quick, okay? Now, this is just rumors. Complete rumors, and people have talked about this for a while now, too, about, Sabine. I think you can kind of lump her in with her, Ahsoka, and even Rex, I think, at this point. So I can see Rex being a character that, maybe wants to try to help protect the child along with Ahsoka, and then of course, like I said, you add Sabine in there if we're talking her in present times and not in flashbacks, like you think it could be. Where they're trying
I think if Bo-Katan is in there, it's going to be flashbacks for sure.
Fair enough. I can see that as well too.
Sabine, I think it could go two ways because it depends on. We know at the end of Rebels that Sabine was leaving with Ahsoka to go find
Yes.
Ezra. So if Sabine shows back up now, again, I think it leads me to that same thing as why I feel like they shouldn't bring in Ahsoka, because then it's like, well, where's Ezra then? Ezra? Like, did you finish? Did you complete that task? Like, what the shit?
Exactly. Yeah, I can totally see. I mean, I can see Rex popping up in a different capacity. I would love to see him go with Ahsoka and Sabine on that journey. And
we don't know that.
And then I'd like to see that as the next animated series. But that's just my dream. Yes. What I would like to see. But I can see maybe Rex hanging back, being part of the New Republic, and him having this mission of protecting the child along with Mando. And it'd be easy to do because, obviously, like I said, Rex is a clone. So again, you have another Temura Morrison on there. But if he's playing Rex and Boba Fett, well, Boba Fett wears a helmet. And much like how Pedro Pascal,
he's not even in the costume.
He's not even in the costume most of the time. He's just voicing over. Put someone else as Boba Fett against, Temura Morrison as Rex, of course, and they can face off all day, and you just dub his voiceover is all it could be. So I could definitely see something like that going on. Okay, so let's go back to topic number 2. Do you think what capacity, or do you think Rex would possibly be in The Mandalorian season 2?
I mean, I think if they're gonna bring in Temura Morrison, like, it would be stupid not to use him both ways.
The hardcore Star Wars fans would much rather see him as Rex than Boba Fett.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, so that's what I mean. I think if they're going to bring him in, you might as well use him to the best of your ability and use him both ways.
Yes, I totally agree with that.
That would be awesome.
Now, the source, like I said, is, the Nerdist. They're not, we got this covered, but they're not exactly Hollywood Reporter. So again, people have been talking about this one for a while, so I take it with a very grain of salt, if you will. Just, Hollywood Reporter, Boba Fett, I can see that. Not only because the source is reliable, but also because Boba Fett is such a widely known fan favorite character.
Especially Jon Favreau.
Exactly. And that's what it was. Is like, Jon Favreau loves Boba Fett, so he wanted to make kind of a Boba Fett style show until, Kathleen Kennedy hooked him up with Dave Filoni, and Filoni's like, wait, let's do something a little different, But this is the way of, Favreau getting his Boba Fett in there a little bit with that. So today is the newest one where Slash Film is reporting, again, that Katee Sackhoff going to play a live-action Bo-Katan, a character that she's voiced for several years now in animation. Slash Film, again, not exactly we got this covered, but it's not Hollywood Reporter. It's somewhere in the middle. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. Because, Katee Sackhoff is, an actor who, I hate to say this, unlike Ashley Eckstein, is more known for her live action stuff in person than her voiceover stuff on Star Wars. So I could see her, being a live action version of this character and, no one having a problem with it. If it happens, great. I'm going to take it, I'm not going to commit to it and be pissed off if it doesn't happen, though. So,
but I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. If it was.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't. So it's kind of how I feel about that. I would love to see all these characters, though, live action. But here is my worry, okay? Say all these are true, okay? Bo-Katan, Boba Fett, Rex, Sabine, Ahsoka. This isn't The Mandalorian anymore.
Exactly. That was exactly what I was going to say. While I love all these characters, this show is about Mando and the child. Bringing in all these people these characters that we know their histories, we know their backstories, we know what they've been doing, and we want more information about that. I think the more of these characters that get brought in, the more it's going to detract from what the show is supposed to be.
And you give us those little nuggets, like you bring in, Rex or whatever for like 5 minutes or whatever. He deserves more than that.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian deserves more than that, and so do all the rest of these characters.
Yeah, I think it's too many.
Yes.
So that's why, I lean toward, if they're going to do any of this, Katee Sackhoff as Bo-Katan makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, and I think, again, like you said, you're talking about flashbacks to see what the purge was. I can totally see that being a scenario where she's in, 5 minutes or maybe more. But of course, too, there's something that popped up as well now, rumors, because a question I had, or a theory I had last season, was the armorer. And I was like, man, what if that is like Bo-Katan, like in hiding or something like that, still trying to lead her people. Now, in the first season, it was a different actress with a different voice underneath the helmet. But, I think
it was a very generic voice.
Exactly.
Though.
It's something you could easily, take off her helmet in season 2 and it be Bo-Katan. So now that rumor has started today with that too. So there you have that to go along with. So that's one thing where you could, she was defeated, showing off the flashbacks of the purge, and she is kind of been hiding herself a little bit, still trying to lead the Mandalorians in some way. There I could see that happening. That's what I was thinking. But what I would say is this: is if I can predict what's going to happen, or if I can predict what your story is going to do, you're not doing a good job. Like that, like Rise of Skywalker. That was every fan theory put together, and there were no surprises in that film for me at all. I knew exactly how the story was going to go. So, but Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, they're better storytellers than me, than all of us that criticize all of them. So I think they have something better in hand.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, me, I don't like to speculate what it's going to be. So that's why I look at this and I'm like, overall, the only thing I feel real strongly is about it is I don't want them to bring Ahsoka in. Yeah. But that's really
okay. So kind of wrap this up. I don't know if I'm gonna be touching on a nerve on this one at all, but I'm just gonna say it. Say they're bringing in Bo-Katan as Katee Sackhoff. They bring in Temura Morrison as Rex or whatever. How do they feel? How do you feel about them not bringing Ashley Eckstein when you can clearly see they're jumping from live action or voiceover to live action with one character and not another?
I'm telling you, I don't think they're going to do it. I do not believe that Rosario Dawson is going to be Ahsoka. Mm-hmm. I do not believe it.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying that. I mean, sure, if it ends up happening, whatever. I'm not the one in charge. I do not believe it. I just don't see Dave Filoni doing that. I just don't see it.
We've had this discussion before, and I think she's a great actress. She could do the part just fine. But if it does happen, not say anything against us, but JR will not shut up about it then. So
I honestly just don't see Dave Filoni doing it.
No, I wouldn't. I honestly wouldn't.
He's too attached to that character. I just can't see him, after all these years of Ashley doing it, bringing in somebody else. I just don't see it happening.
I don't know. I don't.
I mean, Ashley's too short to be Ahsoka in real life. I mean, Ahsoka's pretty tall, really, if you think about it, and Ashley is a tiny little peanut. I mean, she's tiny. I'm not tall, and she's shorter than me.
It's like, but like I said, she's had, acting gigs. She's been in several series and stuff like that.
She is an actress.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, she is an actress. She could totally do it. I think Ahsoka's one of those characters that just needs to stay in the animated world. Mm-hmm. And I just don't.
I said, forget bringing her live action. Keep her animated. Give us, the Sabine and Ahsoka story. Because you bring Sabine in. We're gonna bring what's her name in there as well. Does her voice? No, because it's a totally different nationality anyway.
Right. And it all comes down to, for me, with the whole Ahsoka thing, kind of like you said, this show is about Mando, and I think so far these other characters we've talked about have been essentially kind of side characters. Ahsoka's not a side character.
True.
So I feel like bringing her, all the other ones I can see coming in for a tiny thing here, a tiny thing there. Even Boba Fett, because even though he's a fan favorite, he's a side character.
These are all side characters, but
Ahsoka is not a side character.
Ahsoka, was the star of the Clone Wars.
Yeah, she's not a side character. So I just don't see you just throwing her into a show like this. It's gonna. It would just detract, I think, too much from this being The Mandalorian. While all the other characters, I think you could probably balance it. Everyone else talked about, I think you could probably throw them in and still balance it and still make the show about Mando and the child. But I just don't see how you bring Ahsoka in and not make the show about it. It would become about her. Or if it didn't, people would be like, what the hell? Why you bring in Ahsoka to real life and we only get her for 2 minutes or something? I mean...
Yeah.
I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, okay. All right, guys. Well, I think we're going to cut it off there before things go a little too far. Things might get a little more heated. I think if we continue.
I'm not
So
heated.
no, I'm not. I'm not going to say that. I just think you and I might get a little heated honestly on the subject the way it's going. So we're just going to cut it off right there. But it's time for you guys to fire back. Let us know Mandalorian casting for season 2. Do you think any of these casting rumors, confirmations, whatever, are they true? Who would you like to see in it? You think Boba Fett's going to pop up? Sabine, Ahsoka, Bo-Katan, all this stuff. Do you believe it? Do you want it? How many do you want? Fire back, guys. Facebook group, Twitter account, Dayspring Discussions @gmail.com. And that'll be it for us today. Anything else you want to say before we take off here, Lisa, and watch it rain some more?
No.
No? That's it?
Nope. Just watch our yard.
All right, guys. Well, that's it. Hope you have a good one. Until next time, may the Force be with us all.